Steve Erickson. I'm at the Colony Mill in Keene, Hampshire. Ken Burns is going to show up here for a book signing on his National Parks book.
Wonderfully complicated, the story of the national parks, that at each different park, how it was created involved regular people like you and me who fell in love with a place and spent the rest of their lives sometimes trying to save that place. And that diversity, the fact that it looked like America, that the story was black and brown and red and yellow and female and not just sort of white and male and famous, was enormously appealing to us. This was not some politically correct pursuit on our part, but a naturally occurring thing. And then finally, I think what we were more than anything unprepared for was just how much these parks provide a kind of open heart surgery on all of us. We were unprepared for that as we went into the parks. It wasn't just their beauty, it was something else. These were a covenant. The writer Terry Tempest Williams said that by saving them, we save ourselves. And we sort of really firmly believe that. And every one of the historical characters, 50 or 60 odd that you meet in the course of the film, were themselves transformed. That the people we interviewed to help us understand those historical characters and those beautiful parks needed
to do. The only extra surprise for me was that it had to end.
Yeah.
You know, as Ken said, from the moment that we thought of doing this to now is 11 years. And during that process, my job as the writer and producer was to travel to all 58 of the national parks, many of them multiple times. And, you know, it's the greatest experience of my life to do it. And I actually got paid too, which was nice. But
Steve Erickson, opednews.com. Do you feel that the national parks are in danger? What's your next project, and when you do something like a court system documentary?
The question is, parks. One of the three questions is, are the parks in danger? And the answer is, the parks are always in danger. There's always people who are going to look at a beautiful canyon with a river running through it and think, what a wonderful place for a dam. And they'll look at a mountainside and think, I wonder what kind of valuable minerals may be buried under there. Or a forest and think, start calculating in their minds how many board feet of lumber they can get off it. That's part of who we are as human beings, particularly as Americans. And that will always be part of who we are. And the challenge for parks is also part of who we are as Americans, is an association spiritually and otherwise with the land itself. And the parks are this wonderful expression of us at our best in that regard. But they are in danger now, and they will always be in danger. And part through education and through generational handoffs, the only way that they stay safe is if a new generation of park heroes is born and encouraged to have its own leadership. What are we working on?
We're working on 6 films at once right now. We're updating our 1994 series on the history of the baseball with what we're calling a 10th inning. There was an event that happened in the fall of 2004 that we felt bore revisiting, and it felt, since we had detailed the Red Sox unbelievable misfortunes in the first 9 episodes, that we could, at least as part of a very complicated story, because we feel baseball mirrors us, do that. We're working on a history of the Dust Bowl. We're doing a history of Prohibition. We're working on the story, a contemporary history of the Central Park jogger case. We're doing a major series on the history of the Roosevelts, not just Theodore or Franklin, but Theodore and Franklin and Eleanor, and try to understand the way in which those 3 individuals so changed our notion of democracy and what the role of government was in people's lives. And after having vowed after the Civil War series not to do another film on war, and then sort of took it back and did, as you remember 2 years ago, the the history of the Second World War from a bottom-up perspective of 4 U.S. towns, we're now tackling Vietnam, which will be probably the most complicated of all the dramas about war that we've tried to undertake. Is that enough to work on? Yeah.
Well, we'll get to the court system in the, 20 years from now.
Yeah, 20 years from now. Anyway, one more question.
Do you think global warming has to do with man, and do you think there's global warming?
Do I think that there's global warming, and that global warming is exacerbated by the hand of man? Yes, and yes, and I don't believe there's much dispute about it. So we're going to set up a table here. We thank you all for coming.